Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode, the second episode of Lost in Theaters.
Ooh, yay!
So, I did a little research this time,
Oh.
looked into it, and every year, Bollywood produces roughly 1,000 movies.
Are you about to tell me that we're entering the world of Bollywood?
No. And then I was going to say the U.S. people produce about 500-ish movies, you know. And if you think about the number of movies that have been produced in, like, that you've seen the trailers for
all eternity.
Yeah, in your lifetime, have you seen the trailers for, say, even 500 movies?
I don't think I've seen 500 trailers.
You don't think so? Yeah. I mean, unless you go on, like, a trailer binge where you watch all, like, a bunch of them.
Am I learning concerning things about your life?
I've gone on, like, you know, like, to see the new movies of the summer, right? Like, you watch all the, you know, the trailers sort of thing.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm well suited for this podcast.
Well, so there's a lot of movies that happen every year, and they get made, and we don't get to hear about all of them, let alone the ones that happen before movie trailers.
Are you telling me we're also changing the subject of our podcast slightly?
No, we're still, for those who are new, gonna be talking about movies that have fallen through the cracks of pop culture, and well, last week we talked about an old movie and older. Sorry for those of you for whom that was a contemporary. It wasn't a slight, an older film.
What are we about to watch?
And now we're watching a newer film. This film came out in 2000, the year 2000, which at this point is 20 years old. So let's weep together about that one. Are you ready for the name?
Your maniacal cackling is really encouraging.
Oh, good. Name. Any guesses about what the movie is, given no information?
The Tumultuous Turtle.
Ooh, that's a good title. No, this is Best in Show.
I only got one guess?
Sorry. Best in Show, Ruth.
Okay.
It was a 2000 movie, a year that came out in the year 2000. By the Warner Brothers Movie Studio. For those who are wondering, I watched it on Hulu. So if you got Hulu, that's where you could watch it.
Best in Show.
Best in Show. Any guesses about what the movie's about?
It sounds boring. Like, real boring.
You know, to some it probably is real boring.
Is it about theater?
No.
Music?
No.
Hang on, the title is Best in Show.
Yeah.
Is it about elephants?
No.
The circus?
No.
Clowns not
No.
attached to the circus?
No.
Do mimes count as clowns?
No. Yeah, I think they do, don't they?
I thought they did.
Oh.
Last I checked. Fun fact.
I think you might be right about that. Okay, so, information to know about this movie if you're thinking about watching a movie and you want to... What category does this fall into? Okay, so, it's a mockumentary.
I'm listening.
So if you're into those...
I'm into
that's
those.
That's the thing. Then I was like, maybe I should go into ratings. So, actually, okay, so if you like Hail Caesar...
Woo.
It's kind of that sort of humor, but it's not as stylized. So, like even Wes Anderson, he is very stylized. This movie is not, like, a stylized film, but it has that sort of humor akin to, like, Parks and Rec and Community and The Office as well, like, in that zone.
And I have fallen off the imaginary bandwagon.
Yeah, so combine, like, Hail Caesar with The Office, humor-wise. I mean, I find it appealing.
And that got unpleasant for me.
Oh, poor Ruth. So I looked it up, and The Office came out in 2005, the first season did, and that, like, really kicked off the whole, like, mockumentary thing.
Okay.
And what's so interesting is this came out 5 years before The Office did, which means I think that when it came out, the style of film, I mean, it was kind of irregular. So... rating-wise, It's not really for kids, I'd say. It's got the cultural norms of Hollywood life.
I'm afraid to ask.
You know, it's the CW TV show and ABC cultural norms, just expect that. And then, on the Chaucer scale,
What?
One being one,
Oh,
and
no,
Chaucer
no.
being Chaucer.
If we're, this is bad already.
I know, this is how I rate this kind of, like, when it comes to, sex and profanity, I just think of Chaucer, and I think...
like, the ultimate offender?
As
what?
As, like, you can still have a good movie and have these things in it.
Oh, you mean, like, density of...
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and just, like what you should expect, I would give it, like a maybe a 5. Like,
can that just be our code word from now on? The Chaucer scale?
I love the Chaucer scale, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, no, this is how I did this in my head all the time. And then, yeah, so that's what it rates on the Chaucer scale. And then it's not quite as, so, like, if you've watched The Office, like, the first season of The Office is really painful, right?
Yes.
And you're like, I want to die. It's, like, maybe halfway through the second season of The Office where it kind of, like, takes a chill pill.
Okay.
It's still got that kind of way to it. That's, like, that's what I mean when I talk about The Office, not the early stuff. But of just,
I could handle maybe that.
Yeah, at times.
I still prefer Parks and Rec.
That one I think I might agree. It's hard to say at this point, personally. I'm not gonna take a stand yet, guys. Okay, so and the last piece of information, as some people may remember from last time, this is the 0 spoiler section where if you want to know nothing other than what I'm, like, bare minimum, this is where we are. So the last piece of information, it's a quiet movie. It's a funny quiet movie. So you know how there's those movies where it's like a dramatic quiet movie, and it's like butterflies in forests and houses on cliffs and married couples having talks about life. This is a quiet comedy.
What?
It's all about the small talk.
Okay. Right. That's a helpful phrase.
Yeah. Okay. So, second...
Would you characterize that as, like, British?
No.
Okay.
Because it's definitely not British.
Because that's also a form of quiet comedy.
That's true. They're also very subtle, I'd say. Like Curly the Bald Man.
Subtle. Real subtle.
Yeah. So that's what I'll say for those people who don't want to continue, and now I'm going to give you just basic, like, this is the second part where we'll say generally what the movie's about if you want a little more information. Mm-hmm. Okay, who's ready? Are you ready?
I'm maybe fine.
It is, spoilers,
thank you,
a documentary following dog owners as they take their dogs to the what is it called?
This is a dog show?
It's a dog show. The famous dog show. The Mayflower, I think, is what it's called. Oh no.
I wrote one of our friends would know. It's right there.
Yes, it is. It's the Mayflower Dog Show. So you've got these people across the nation, and they fall, and so it has like 3. It doesn't follow like, oh man, since they were puppies. It's just like a few days before the dog show, and then you get to the dog show, and then
in the United Nations.
Did I say United Nations?
You said nation.
Oh, in the American nation, Ruth.
So like
United States
Mexico?
of America.
Okay,
USA. Sister. Yeah, so that's the basic idea. And I gotta say, the premise is quite funny because I feel like, these people, their dogs aren't exactly their entire life, but like they put everything on hold to take this dog to the dog show.
Yep.
It's time. Yeah. There's different characters. Like I said, there's a couple that has a terrier and a guy who has a big old bloodhound, and which I found out, I didn't realize you've seen Where the Red Fern Grows.
Not the movie.
No, you've listened to it.
Yes.
I've listened to the Red Fern Grows. I haven't seen it. Yeah, those are bloodhounds. I didn't know what a bloodhound looked like until I watched this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Aren't they got like the saggy face?
They're so saggy and brown.
Mm-hmm.
And
these ones were red.
There's the poodle, of course, the poodle with varying hairstyles who's the queen of the dog show.
Oh, great.
Whose name is Butch. It's a female poodle named Butch.
Was there a confusion?
No.
Or is it a joke?
They don't really know. It's just that's its name.
Is it just left there? Is something going over your head?
There was one joke that I'll refrain from making.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
and then let's see. There's one more. Oh yeah, there's like a Pomeranian type dog as well. Yeah. I'm trying to think. That should be good for. Is that enough for the second section, Ruth? Or should any probing questions on behalf of the audience for those who
Is there actual plot?
You discover the plot as you go. I mean, it's like the plot is taking the dogs to who's gonna win because best in show is a title given to. So at a dog show they judge different breeds, right? Like the hunting dogs and the toy dogs and different type, the hounds or whatever. And they judge these dogs in categories, and then they judge across the categories. Yeah. And the winner of that is named Best in Show. Okay. And so the question is, who's gonna be the best in show?
But that's a good question. But is that enough for a plot?
It builds. It becomes a plot, yes. I mean, let's see. The introduction.
Why are you dodging the yes?
I don't know, because I don't know. It feels very meandering.
Okay.
It's a very meandering plot. Like the denouement is massive.
You want to translate that for our audience?
The building tension is it's like very long build up to the climax to the very short descent. Okay. Maybe the denouement is on the other side.
I'm wondering how you're using that phrase.
Have you ever seen one of those little this is the thing? It's like a little mountain.
Gesturing.
It looks like a heart sonogram thing where it's like burp burp, but with only one burp.
Are you describing the plot?
Yeah, like a plot diagram.
Oh yeah.
Where does the word denouement fall? Is it the falling action or the rising action?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I thought you did research.
Well, for some parts of the episode, Ruth. Okay.
Sorry.
Any more questions that you think our listeners who only want middling information would like to know?
I mean, my brain has gone blank, ready to listen to everything you have to tell me going forward.
Yes. Okay. Now we're moving on to the spoiler-heavy, basically a plot summary to a degree of the movie. Here we go. All right. So it opens at a therapy appointment between a couple who's having these marital problems, and they're talking to this therapist, and they're like, we're just having these problems, and it's affected him, and he's just gotten so mean, and he won't look at us anymore.
Is it like a My Cat from Hell episode?
No.
Where the guy is like...
No, it isn't like that at all.
I like that show.
The therapist just sits there and asks like 2 questions, and then it turns, and of course the person who's really struggling because of their marriage is
the dog. That's what I mean. In My Cat from Hell, it's never really the cat's problem, it's the people.
Yes.
And they recognize that.
But do they? We recognize it.
I mean, by the end of the episode...
The next couple. So then we get introduced to the next couple, and it's this guy and this girl who they're like, been married for a while, and the dog training is like her thing.
Yeah.
And she, wears lots of jewelry and has poofy hair, and
what color is it?
Her hair's blonde.
Poofy blonde hair.
Yes.
Okay.
And the dog. Okay, but here's the kicker. This is a weird little fact. This man has 2 left feet.
They just put that in there.
So this should give you a feel for this movie.
Okay.
The guy has 2 left feet.
Like literally?
Yes. And they make these comments about his dancing. Okay? And they're like, I mean, I couldn't dance before I met you, you know, and she's like, yeah, and I went out and I said, hey, you want to dance? And I was like, no, I've got 2 left feet.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, there's, you know,
Uh-huh.
like, and he really does have 2 left feet.
Literal
Like, that's
left
the
feet.
tone, okay?
What the heck?
But it doesn't look weird. It looks totally normal because what's so interesting is it feels like it feels like it was filmed in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Which nowadays would be a stylistic choice. So it feels like it could have been filmed now deliberately to make it look like it was the 2000s.
Trippy.
Yeah, because the humor is on par with the modern
okay.
kind of
that
bizarre
is
humor. Yeah. And then you meet the man who believes in standards, i.e. this standard poodle.
Is that a pun that just keeps going on?
No, this guy, I realize now looking at my notes that he doesn't really show up again. The poodle people are different people. So, like, there's this guy who talks about standards.
Yeah.
And then the people who actually look after the poodle are, like, this, like, really, 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 really old man and his wife.
Do you want another really there?
Huh?
Do you want another really?
Oh, no, I think I had a sufficient amount of reallys.
Lest we offend someone.
What? No, he doesn't say anything, okay? He just has this little...
he's mute.
No, he's just...
And insignificant.
He's like Nana in
The dog? In
No.
Wonderland?
Nana in,
Not Wonderland.
I watched it like 5 times recently. What is it? Knives Out. He's like Nana in Knives Out.
Who's Nana in Knives? Oh, yes, I see. They're very old.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you meet, there's another guy who's like a fishing guy, and, he's telling his buddies how to look after his fishing store while he takes his dog off, you know, to go to this show. And then there's... Sorry, I just remembered the people the poodle people, the man and the woman. The woman's like, we have so much in common. Soup, outdoors, snow peas, talking and not talking. I mean, we could talk or not talk all day long. Yeah.
Don't bash it, it's real.
And then there's these 2 guys who have this Shih Tzu that they just dote over. They're very excited about it. Oh yeah, and then there's the great part where they interview the man who's going to host the Mayflower.
Okay.
And he's like, this is my favorite part of the Mayflower, you know, here, the peaceful quiet before this place will be filled with life, and this will be full of people, and he's like talking about it, and he's like, but right now, this is the calm before the storm. And it's just so funny because you're like, it's a dog show, you know. So that was like, it's really well staged, I'd say, in very clear, like, here's all the people doing this, here's all the people doing that, and here's all the people, you know, like, so the next section is like the preparing to go and like how everybody met.
It's arranged like a dog show.
Is it? Is that how a dog show is arranged?
It's divided into sections. Each time you come up and do the next thing.
Yeah, I feel like though, like maybe a dog show is modeled off of something else that the plot's also modeled off of, rather than I don't know. That's what I would think.
You've slipped into an interesting Texas drawl right there.
Great. All right. Continuing. Are we good to continue? Cool.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, the therapy people who were at therapy whose names I didn't catch, they met at a Starbucks. Rather, they met at separate Starbucks across the street from each other.
What?
They both have braces.
What?
It's a little odd.
What?
Yeah. Really...
No, I actually don't understand.
Like there was a road, and the lady was in one Starbucks, and the guy was in the other Starbucks, and the guy saw the lady and left his Starbucks to go to her Starbucks.
I'm more concerned there are 2 Starbuckses.
That's the thing. It's a joke. Like, you know,
it is a joke.
the world is full of except it's a
I
reality.
know that joke. Yeah.
This is a good time to mention that the people who own the terrier, that's the lady with the big blonde hair, they sing.
Uh-oh.
And they have this song about how
no.
God loves a terrier.
What?
Yeah. And it's this, like, this random moment where they have this going away picnic with all their friends, and they sing this God loves a terrier song. Yeah. I think one of my favorite parts in the whole movie is, well, no, this is one of my favorite parts at the beginning of the movie, where you're just, like, getting used to the jokes and stuff, and there's the guy who's a fisherman, right? He's like, okay, let's go, I'm going, and then, the guys who are looking after the store, the one guy's like, you catch a big one, you know? And he's like, I'm going to a dog show, and the other guy's like, oh, that's right, and then he looks at the dog and he goes, make sure it's a big one, you know, because he thinks it's about to fish. He still thinks they're going fishing the whole time. The whole, like, there's like a conversation, and he's like really convinced that, it's catch a big one, Hubert. That's the line. Yeah. And then, and then one of the guys is like, the same guy, the Hubert guy. His dog's named Hubert. There's just a video of him talking in the car, and he's like, I used to be able to name all the nuts. What? Pine nuts?
No.
And it just goes on for a little bit.
Is that a Forrest Gump reference?
No, I don't think so.
Like the shrimp scene?
Oh, no, I don't think so. It wasn't quite, because that I feel is very stylistic, like they're doing different activities or whatever. But he's just, and so this is what I mean by, like, it's all about the small talk and the quiet conversations.
He's just straight listing.
He's just listing types of nuts that he could name, and his mom used to tell him, you know, like, will you listing nuts again?
What?
Yeah. So it's just very, that's
niche humor.
Yeah, it's very, like, it's all about what the people are saying, because it's just so weird and ridiculous. And so there's lots of things that happen. Everybody gets there. Everybody has to go to parties. It's interesting because there's, like, dog parties for the people. There's a hotel. They interview the hotel manager. And there's actually a lot of not famous people, a lot of significant actors. I'm trying to remember where I know this actor from. I don't know. Anyways,
we'll move on.
Bringing from that. But he is like, he watches, he's, you know, telling everybody, he's like, yeah, this is our biggest weekend, we get all these dog people, and he's just like, and then this is the cover that really matters at this time, and he opens the door, and it's full of, like, cleaning supplies. And he's like, you've got your little dog problems, and he, like, analyzes all of, like, the sizes of cleaning supplies for the dog. And then, my favorite part, though, is he talks about, not my favorite part of the movie, but this guy's talk, he talks about how these, they had this whole bunch of, like, frat people come to the party, or to the hotel, and he was like, it was total chaos, you know, and we know to clean, you know. He's like, but we were not expecting that pig roasting in that room. What? Yeah, like I said, it's all about the small talk.
I think I might like this movie.
You might, yeah. And then the dog show starts, and yeah, everything unfolds as so again about the small talk, because like I said, it's all about that. There's these two judges who are added when it comes to the dog show, and it's like those Muppet judges, except it's got a straight man and a funny man, and one of them is British. We get the British humor, but the other one is like not British. He's just sort of like how do you make a British man feel uncomfortable? Put him this guy. This is the guy who you pair him with, and he just, because the British guy knows about dog shows and judging these sorts of things and understands, and then this other guy's like, now they call this group, you know, they're all so tiny, why don't they call them the small ones, you know? And the British guy, like, what's he supposed to say? Yeah.
part of the British contract not to experience outrage.
What?
This is false.
Oh, and at some point, the guy with 2 left feet has to bring the dog around, and the one guy goes, "Am I nuts, or is there something wrong with his feet?" And it's just so funny because it's like, no true words have been spoken. There is something funny about his feet. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I should go all the way to the end, Ruth. What do you think?
I don't think you need to.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm ready to watch it.
You're ready to watch it, huh?
Yep.
Feel compelled? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've given...
I feel no compulsion.
No compulsion. You feel like... You know when you might be interested in watching it.
I know when I might be interested in watching it?
Right. Like, if you're like, okay, I want to watch a movie...
Yeah.
Now you can pull this movie in your memory and be like, this works for
Not
this.
with anybody. This would be by myself.
This would be a by yourself movie.
Yeah.
A chuckles.
Yeah.
A chuckles alone. Sometimes we get stuck alone at home and you get scared.
This is about
so
to
you
get
watch
depressing.
a movie.
It got sad.
No,
what?
I was just saying. Like,
why are we scared?
You know, like there's a thunderstorm.
I love those.
I know. Some of us, we pretend to love them because our sister loves them.
I'm so sorry. I'm learning so many new things
today. But naturally, I would be horrified. Okay.
It's okay, Rachel.
I won't say... Okay, but here's the thing about this movie. When it comes to the final, like, judging of the dog, like, who's the best in show, I was on the edge of my seat. I don't...
Okay.
It does it well enough that when it comes time, you're like... Oh my gosh, who's it gonna be? Like, it's, yeah, they do a good job of staging it.
Do you know if they got, like, actual dog show dogs for this?
That is a good question. I do not know. But it's interesting, because, like, last time it was another animal movie. Mm-hmm. The Cat from Outer Space. See the last episode. And we talked about how they would train animals, but how, like, these would probably... these weren't necessarily actors. They were just like and especially because of the documentary style. There's even less sort of like.
Well, I wonder if someone who like actually trains or breeds dogs would be able to recognize which dog would win.
Yeah, I wonder.
Or whether this was all just bogus animals.
This is just like we got that one on the corner. So. Yeah, they were all very pretty looking dogs.
Aww.
Yeah.
So maybe they did. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. So, there you go. That's Best in Show.
Well, thank you for sharing.
All right.
I am interested.
Oh, good. All right. That's not my goal, by the way, to make people interested necessarily.
No, I know.
Yeah. I just...
Like, I don't think I could watch the last one.
Okay, well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that doesn't really prove anything about what you just said. I just remembered. I should probably state that.
You should probably state that. You are less interested in the last one than this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. And we shall see you all in the future.
Bye.
Hasta luego.